Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artsman Coffee Time. Today's session is going to be on event setup. We're going to be looking at the requirements that are necessary for creating an event and talk about some of the details that are unique to different types of events and performances that we may be setting up. I'm going to share my screen now so everyone can walk through the details with us. All right. Inside Theater Manager, to set up a new event, we start at the ribbon of buttons at the top of the window by clicking on the event icon. This is going to open up our event list window. If we have events already in the system, we can click on the magnifying glass on the far right-hand side to populate the list, and that will show us all of our events that are currently set up that are active. In order to create a new event, we're going to head to the top of the window and click on the new button, the white piece of paper with the green plus symbol, which opens up a brand new event window. Inside our event window, there are fields that are mandatory or required in order to move forward. We're going to be exploring those. We're also going to be talking about tabs and how we create more accessibility to our tabs as we set up our event. Right now, we can see that the event tab, the accounting tab, and the marketing tab are all active. There's information in each of these tabs that need to be filled in before we can proceed to adding performances. We can't have a performance without an event title, accounting, or a genre for our event. The first field we're going to explore is our event code. Our event code is a 6-digit code that is unique to the event that we're creating. The structure for this really depends on your organization, and there's probably already a structure that's been implemented. Some organizations will put the year, a dash, and perhaps the initials of the event. Other organizations will use unique codes to their event. For example, if they have a main stage production, they might type something like M01 for the first performance of their main stage, 02 for the second, 03 for the third, and so on. When it comes to rental clients, some clients will put a -R for rental and indicate a number. And some organizations take the dash out completely, just starting with 21, followed by the rest of the digits that they want to use to define their unique performances. This really is up to your organization, so feel free to look in the event list window to discover what the pattern might be for your organization. Next up, we're going to take a look at the event title. Our event title today, let's do Phantom of the Opera. This was Heather's pick today, so kudos to her for coming up with a great event title. So with our title, we have the ability to type in what we need to see here. We do have the ability to change our case. So for example, if we wanted to do mixed case or have an uppercase letter partway through a word, we do have the ability to do that. We would type the letter into the field, and if you're on a Windows machine, you can hold down the Control key on your keyboard. On a Mac, you're going to choose your option key, and then click into the pricing map field or another field that's active with text. By clicking into this field, it's going to keep that capitalization for you without overriding. You also have the ability to put special characters into this field, for example, accents over top of letters. We do recommend being cautious with these because they don't always or not always recognized by the ticket printer. So if you're printing your tickets out on ticket stock, it may be that those characters don't appear or appear oddly as letters on the ticket stock because the printers don't know how to interpret them. Next up, we are going down to our season. With our season field, we want to make sure that we're currently in the correct season. Sometimes we build our events early and our season is going to roll over into next year. So we might be building an event that belongs in our 2022 season as opposed to our 2021. By updating our season on the left-hand side, if our starting year of our season is anything other than January, Theater Manager will automatically update the through year for us. So we can build events and have them prepared for future seasons. And next up, we're going to look at our pricing maps. So when it comes to pricing maps, our pricing map is going to define the price codes that are available, the seating structure if we're doing reserved seating, and the details that appear online with regards to the venue name and address. We're going to click on the little icon here to the right of the field, the paint easel, and that's going to pop up a lookup window for us. This is a lookup window of all of the maps that I currently have inside my database. For today's venue, let's choose King's Theatre. I'm going to single click on King's Theatre and click on select. We can also double click on our map to populate it back into our event. These are the only required fields here on this particular page. There are other fields listed here that do a variety of different functions. We are going to stop over at the box office ticket printing options area briefly and then move into our accounting tab. Inside our box office printing options, we have the option to choose a ticket face and any on the sales promotion, which is going to allow us to print 2 tickets at once. We can define a unique ticket to the sales promotion and a ticket to the event. This is often good if we're doing something like a gala or we have a promotional offer. Maybe we're selling a CD or patrons are going to be participating in dinner and an event. That extra ticket can be issued to the patron and they can use that to redeem for that secondary item. Next, we have marked tickets as printed but don't print. This is often the setting we use for our control houses. It can also be for events where we want to track attendance, but we don't want to physically issue a ticket to the patron. So this is a wonderful option for ensuring that we still have a list of all of our patrons, that they purchase their tickets, whether it be a free admission event or a paid event, and we still have a collection of who attended the event without issuing that ticket. We have print only the sales promotion ticket face. On each of our sales promotions, there is a field to define a ticket face. This option means that we can have a unique ticket for each of our individual sales promotions. So our ticket could look completely different for someone who is a group ticket purchaser versus a single ticket purchaser. Or maybe we have a unique ticket face for our subscribers, or possibly even our larger donors if we have a unique promotion for our donors. And our final option here is print ticket face only. We're going to leave this bullet checked and we're going to select ticket face that we can then have as a part of our event for future printing. In order to select that ticket face, we're going to click on the little ticket icon here, and that's going to open another lookup window. I'm going to pick ticket face number 7, and I'll give that one a double click this time as opposed to single click and select, which will populate the value into the field. All right. We now have all of our options ready here, or all of our required fields entered. We're going to head over to our accounting tab. Inside our accounting tab, we're going to start at the top of the window before we move down to the tabs at the bottom. On the left-hand side, we have the option to use same accounts. If we uncheck use same accounts, we'll see that more tabs become available at the bottom of the window. These tabs are designed to assign funds for different types of tickets to different GL accounts. These 5 options also appear inside your sales promotion. Your sales promotion is going to govern the GL posting account that theater manager uses in order to allocate the funds. So for example, if your organization has a separate set of GL accounts for season tickets, you would want to uncheck use same accounts to activate the season tab and be able to enter in your season GL account number. For those that don't have a different GL account and put all of their ticket revenue into the same GL for the event, you can keep this box checked, which makes our list shorter and these tabs become inactive. I'm going to uncheck this box so we can explore more how we fill in those GL tabs in a few moments. We also have the option to apply tax. If your organization needs to remit tax on events, you can set up a tax table, which will then appear in the dropdown, and you can choose the tax table that applies to you. If tax does not apply, you can set up a tax table or should have a tax table for none. And that means that there will be no tax calculated on the cost of our tickets. For our example, to explore the feature more, we're going to make sure that we leave tax on just so we can see the option more freely. And I'll make sure to point out when it doesn't apply when we get into our pricing setup. We're going to leave our currency at Canada because I'm in Canada. So therefore, we're going to leave that at Canada for currency, which means there won't be a conversion. However, if we had an event that was taking place in another location, for example, if I was selling tickets over the border in the US, I might choose a different currency rate specifically for this so that way the funds were charged accordingly. And I would set up that currency rate inside our setup system tables so that way we had the correct options listed. Next up, we have deferred revenue allocation. Many of our clients are using deferred revenue. This means that we're putting tickets into our ticket revenue into a liability account until the event takes place, or possibly until we do our year-end rollover. Depending on what your organization's policy or practices are, you most likely will be deferring revenue. If you're not and all ticket sales go immediately into earned revenue, you'll want to choose this top bullet up here, revenue earned at time of sale. That gives us one column to enter all of our GL accounts into, as opposed to 2 separate columns where theater manager will post everything to our liability accounts And then at a time defined inside our company preferences, it will move everything over into our earned GL accounts. For our purposes and the ability to explore more options today, we're going to choose defer until date after each performance. This option of after each performance is the option that's defined inside the code tables underneath the accounting tab. For most of us, we have existing settings that are already in place, and so Theater Manager knows what option needs to be used. It just comes down to whether or not you're going to be using revenue earned at time of sale, or if you'll be using the deferred option. So please make sure to speak with your accountant or bookkeeper to determine what option is best for your organization. We also have an option to defer tax. I'm going to leave that checked for our example. For those of you that don't have tax, you can just ignore this particular box because there won't be anything to defer at your time of entry. All right, let's take a look at our GL accounts. Inside our GL account setup on the left-hand side, here's our deferred revenue accounts. We're going to click on the little credit card looking icon to the right of that field, and we're going to find the deferred account that we're going to put our ticket sales into. I'm going to put this today into our event deferred. We'll expand this just a little bit more so we can see more of the details. And let's see, event revenue deferred single ticket sales. Let's choose that option. We're going to have the same GL account in all three options here on the left-hand side. And when it comes to our bottom options, these are our ticket fees. The ticket fees are the fee options that are added at the bottom of our sales promotions. So when we create a sales promotion and we're inside the calculations tab, we will see that there is a ticket fee 1, 2, and 3 option. These 3 fields can also be renamed inside your database to more accurately reflect the name of the fees that you're charging. So for example, you may have a capital fee, an endowment, and possibly a technology fee. These fields are used to charge additional amounts on top of the ticket price, the base ticket price. And so if we have fees that we're allocating or setting aside into a separate GL account, we would define that GL account number inside these fields. And Theater Manager will take the value that's inside the calculations tab, pull that aside, and put it into that separate GL account for us. These fields can also be used for additional items that we want to charge on top of the base ticket price. So for example, if we have a capital fee and an endowment fee in our first 2 fields, the third fee is often left empty. There won't be another value associated with it, but we do need to put a GL account or associated GL account with it inside our setup. We can also do things like create a special sales promotion where we increase the cost of the ticket and allocate it to a GL account here. For example, you might be selling a CD, and with your CD sale, you do not want to recognize the portion of the CD revenue as event revenue. We want to set that aside into a separate GL account for our CD sales or our merchandise. We can enter our merchandise GL account number here inside the field, and Theater Manager will allocate it to that GL for us. We can then put the value of the CD in the setup of our sales promotion, and Theater Manager will set that aside for us automatically as we sell our tickets. For today's purpose, we're going to click on the icon to the right of our ticket fee field, and we don't have any ticket fee, deferred ticket fee GL accounts set up inside this database, so I'm going to allocate them to our future ticket sales. That's not our correct GL. Let's do that one more time. Event revenue deferred ticket sales. I'm going to use the same GL account for all 3 of these. And so I'm just going to populate that in here nice and quick. If we know our GL account, we can also type them. And if you are duplicating an event, the duplication of your event will copy over these values for you. On the right-hand side, we're going to put in our earned GLs. I'm going to click on our first icon here, and we can see that we are no longer in a 2 starting point or the liability tab. We're now inside our income tab. We're going to double click on our first line here, 4,000, and we're going to use the same GL account for all 3 of our options here at the top of the window. We're now going to choose our GL accounts at the bottom portion of the window, and so I'm going to allocate this to ticket fee 1, this one to ticket fee 2, and this one to ticket fee 3. Now again, you might have different GL accounts that you're using for these areas. Do check with your accountant and bookkeeper. You can also open up past events and review the accounting tab to see what the structure looks like. Some organizations will have a structure for events that they put on versus rental clients. So your rental clients may use different GL accounts than you might use for events that you're either presenting or productions that you have that you're hosting. All right, Now that we have our GL accounts listed here, let's take a quick look at the season tab. We're going to populate the information in here as well. Clicking on the icon on the left-hand side, I'm going to go find the deferred subscription GL, and we're just going to populate the same information in here. I'm going to make this just a little bit quicker by typing in some numbers as we go to try and speed up our process since we've already been through this once. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on the icon to the right here, and I'm going to find our earned GL account for subscriptions. It's the same kind of concept, populating in these details. The one difference is that our subscription ticket fees are still going to be allocated into the ticket fee 1, ticket fee 2, and ticket fee 3 GL accounts. I see that Jamie has a question about GL accounts. Jamie, I am going to answer your question. We're going to walk through this process a little bit more, and then we'll come back to the GL accounts and discuss your question in a bit more detail. We're going to go to other type 1. And inside other type 1, since I'm not breaking this down, I'm going to say copy from my regular accounts to populate the same values. Other type 1, type 2, and type 3 can be used for a variety of different purposes. Sometimes we might have group ticket sales that we want to allocate into separate GL accounts, or perhaps we do sales for schools. If we have school groups that are attending, we might break them out into separate GL accounts as well, just to have those funds tracked separately inside our chart of accounts and inside our accounting software. So these tabs, can be renamed to accommodate those options. And just to make that a little bit more clear, most organizations don't use these features, but they are available, so that way we can break things down in more detail. All right, we have all of the information in our accounting tab ready. We're going to head over to the marketing tab. Inside our marketing tab, there's only one field that is required inside this tab, and this is the genre field. The genre field ties into the Ticket Trove app that Artsman has created for our clients. It lists all of your upcoming events and pulls the details from the ticketing site to populate them. It's a marketing tool for all of our clients to use. These genres are predefined, so we can look through the list and find something that's going to work well for us. Why don't we call this an opera? So we choose our genre, and once we have our genre listed, we're then able to click the Save button. This is the only time we need to click the Save button in the setup of our event. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and what we'll see is that the Performance tab opens up, so we can now add our performance. We're going to come back into our Marketing tab in a few moments, and we'll talk more about the fields that we have listed here. But let's carry on with creating a new performance. Anytime we're inside a tab in Theater Manager, the buttons at the bottom of the tab are the buttons that are going to impact what we're doing inside that particular tab. So since we're inside our Performance tab, we're going to head down to the lower left-hand corner and click on the New button to add a new performance. Our first window here asks how many performances are we going to be building? For our purposes, let's say we're going to have 10. We then get to choose our sales method. Our reserved sales method is going to use our map and define seats. So patrons will need to pick the seating location where they're going to be seated inside the venue. It also uses the pricing structure from our map to define what price points are available in each of our seats. Other common options are festival seating or general admission. This could be called either in your database. The text that's listed here is controlled inside your company preferences under the Appearance tab. But this is our general admission, meaning that we're not going to assign a seat to a person. We're just going to allow them to sit anywhere in the venue, and the ticket just allows their admission. Another common option is courses, designed for classes. With classes or courses, when we build those, we select the number of performances or dates that the class is going to take place. And we can set up Theater Manager to either allow the patron to register for each individual date, or we can set it up so that one registration, one purchase, ticket purchase, will give them admission to all of the dates. We have our reserved performance for Phantom of the Opera, so we're going to select that. When we do so, our quantity to sell is grayed out. This is being pulled by the map itself. If we choose something like festival seating, we can see that this value or field becomes active. This allows us to define how many seats inside a festival seating or general admission event we might choose to sell. We also have the ability to alter that when we look at classes or courses. We may choose a venue, but decide we only want 15 people to be a part of our class or course, so we can define that capacity as needed. We're going to move back to our reserved performance. We also have our quantity to report. The quantity to report is going to govern how the button behaves inside the ticketing site. So when our button changes from green to orange, and when it starts counting down the number of seats available, is all controlled by our quantity to report. And our quantity to report is going to be a count of the number of sold seats and held seats. Queue seats or socially distant seats have a bit of a different function, and depending on how your map or performance is set up, they may or may not be included in that count. If you have questions about the quantity to report field, please feel free to reach out to the support team and we'll be happy to answer them and help you understand those calculations in more detail. All right. I'm just going to come back here to course and we're going to put 266 and we're going to go back to our reserved. Let's head into step 2. Inside step 2, we have the ability to define our performance settings. We're going to start by just allowing these tickets to be sold at the box office. We're not going to make this performance available for sale online at the moment because we haven't defined our pricing yet. So we're going to come back to that in a few moments. If this was being set up as a season control performance, we have the ability to indicate that here as well. We have a variety of other settings. We're going to focus on these options first, and we're going to move into step 3. Inside step 3, we start with our date. When is the run of our performance going to begin? Well, how about a preview on Thursday and we'll run over the weekend? We're going to double click on the 26th after we've chosen our date. It's going to populate into the field here at the top of the window. We then come down to our sliders. It indicates the days that we have dark days. So we will not have a performance on Wednesday. We will have a preview on Thursday. We'll have a Friday. Let's say we have 2 performances on Saturday. We'll have a matinee as well as an evening performance. And we have a performance on Sunday. Theatre manager is going to put all of these performances into the calendar. In our next step, we'll be able to see them in more detail. We're going to allow theatre manager to create our performance code. This is the 1-SAT, 1-SUN, 1-5 that we see when we build our performances. These are very important when it comes to season subscriptions. It's very important that our control houses match what our individual performances are. And so when we're setting these up, we want to ensure that our values are set to match the settings that we have in prior years and in our prior control houses. Most organizations are using a 1- option. However, for those of you that might be using a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC, make sure to choose the correct option, especially if you intend to use the season subscription module. You can come back and edit these later if you choose. Finally, on the right-hand side in this tab, we are going to adjust our times. Let's say we have a 7 p.m. and a 2 p.m. matinee. We'll make sure those performance times are set and we'll head into step 4. We're going to click yes on our message for performance setup, and any of our new performances will be listed in pink. So we can see that we have our Thursday performance, our Friday, 2 performances on Saturday, a Sunday performance, and then we head back to Thursday, Friday, and 2 on Saturday. If we move forward by clicking the single arrow in the upper right-hand corner of the window, it moves us into the next week so that way we can see what our performances, where our performances fall. Sorry, it moves us into the next month so we can see more clearly where our performances fall. And so we can see that we also have our performance on Sunday. Now, if one of our performance dates need to change, or if we want to move a performance to a different date, let's say we don't have 2 performances or a performance on this Thursday. This Thursday performance is actually going to be 2 performances on Sunday, since we only have a Thursday preview. We can drag and drop our performance over to the required date, which will move it within our calendar. We also have the ability to edit performance times, providing we've defined them in the prior step. If your performance time is different, you can also edit it when we're in or finished building our performances and we're back inside our performance tab. So I'm going to leave both of these performances at 7 o'clock. If I needed to change the time of a performance, for example, this Sunday, let's say this is a 2 p.m. matinee, because we already have a 2 p.m. matinee time defined in the prior window, we can right mouse click on that performance and we can change the performance time to the 2 p.m. start. I'm only going to change this performance and not our second Sunday, so that way we can see how to manually change the time if we need to. If our matinee performances are 1 per day and we haven't defined it in the prior steps, then we're going to manually alter them, and we'll see that in just a moment. I'm going to click on our build button, and that's going to go ahead and build our performances in the database. You can see them starting to be created here in the background. And once Theatre Manager is done, we'll be back to our performance tab. And there we are. I'm going to pull down the bottom of our window just so we can see more of our performances. And so inside this window, we see all of our individual dates and times. We talked about how we're going to have a Sunday matinee and that it isn't going to be at 7 p.m. We can double click on any one of our performances to update the content of that performance. There are several different options inside this field or inside this window as well, multiple different tab options. We're going to change our time and we'll leave our date, but if we needed to alter a date or even a code, performance series code, we could do that here as well. I'm going to close out of this matinee, which will save it automatically. And let's do one more edit. We'll edit our first performance because we said that was going to be a preview. And we'll title its code preview so that way it stands out from being different from the rest of the series. All right, we now have our performances built inside the system, and now that they're here, our pricing, promotions, maps, attendance, personnel, and our accounting tabs all become active. We're going to head over to our pricing tab and take a look at how to alter our pricing. We're going to single click on the first performance in the list on the left-hand side. Typically, if we have a preview performance or a single performance, we would be altering just that one performance and adjusting our price points. If we have multiple performances, we can set one performance with our valid price points and then copy those to other performances inside the list. Since our preview is going to be an exception in our example, we're going to turn off the price points that don't apply. I'm going to get rid of everything except for price code A, and I'm going to disable down at the bottom. We're going to double click on price code A, and once we've opened up our price code, we can then change the name. So perhaps this is our preview, so we're going to title it preview, and the price is going to be, why don't we say $15? Some organizations will do previews that are free. If you have a preview that is free, then you can go ahead and indicate a $0 ticket price inside your preview price. Now, we put in a $15 ticket, and when we did that, we can see that Theater Manager calculated the tax, and the total price is going to be $15.75. I'm going to double click on this price point once more to open it up and review the details. So inside this window, we can see there's 75 cents worth of tax. If we want our base price to include our tax as opposed to tax being calculated on top, we can click our Calculate Price Excluding Tax button once, and it will back the value of the tax out of our price, making it a nice even $15 for our final sales price. I'm going to click on Save, and that will update our price for us. We're going to come into our Friday performance, and we're going to do some more pricing here. So I'm going to double click on our first price code 1, and maybe this is our gold seating. I'm going to type gold, and we would define the price of our gold seating. Now, it's very important to note, this is our base ticket price. So if we have fees that are going to be built into the cost of our ticket, and we want those to be included in our base ticket price, or the price that we're advertising, we may be leaving, we might be starting with a ticket price of $25, backing out the value of our fees, and then that would be our base ticket price for start. So for example, if we have a $25 ticket, and we have $5 worth of built-in fees, our base ticket price would be $20. I'm going to put that into our field here. With our $20 ticket price, we can then calculate the price excluding tax to back out our tax. And so now we have a nice even $20 with a promotion that's going to add an additional $5 on top with our ticket fee 1, 2, and 3. We're going to click Save on our gold. And we'll do a silver seating section. Perhaps in our silver seating section, we are going to have a $20 ticket. If it is a $20 ticket with $5 worth of fees, it means that our base ticket price would be $15. And we're going to calculate price excluding tax. So that's going to back the tax out. And we'll click on Save. And finally, we'll do a bronze section. And for our bronze seating section, perhaps that's a $15 ticket. So we'll have $10. We'll calculate that and we'll click on Save. So now we have all of our base ticket prices set up. We have tax removed from them, and that gives us our totals on the right-hand side. Any fees that are included inside our sales promotions will be added on top of these base ticket prices. Next up, we have price code A. This would be our regular ticket price. So perhaps we have regular gold. And perhaps in our regular gold seating section, tickets start at $35 for single tickets. And so our $35 ticket with a $5 fee would be $30, and we'll back the tax out of that as well. We'll go ahead and put in a regular silver. And perhaps that is a $30 ticket, so we'd be looking at a $25 ticket with tax calculated. And that brings us down to our base. For those of you that aren't calculating tax, you can go ahead and add in your price without using the calculate price excluding tax button. You just want to make sure that you start with your base price. So this will be prior to any fees that are added on by our sales promotion. And so for this one, we'll make this a $25 ticket. All right. So we now have our ticket prices set up for our first performance. We're going to go into our second performance here and see that there is no pricing listed. We're going to highlight all of our performances below this that don't have prices listed yet. And we're going to copy our prices from our Friday performance. We're going to click on copy prices down at the bottom of the window, which is going to open up a wizard for us that allows us to search for other events inside the database that are using the same map. The reason we're looking at the same map is because the pricing structure needs to be the same to copy from one event to another. So if we had events in a completely different venue, Theater Manager wouldn't necessarily show us those events in our list here while searching because the pricing structure would be different. We can search for events by putting in their event code, part or all of, and clicking on our magnifying glass, or changing to something like the event title to search for them. Once we have our desired event on the window, we can find the performance that has the correct pricing. We're going to double click on the performance, and by doing so, it highlights all of the price points in step 2. If we didn't want to copy over all of the price points, we could single click on the price points that we did want to copy, and we could leave those individual price points deselected and have the ones that we want to select active. To do that, or to select multiple or individual price points at any given time, you can hold on the Control key or the Command key on your keyboard to select the ones that apply. Once we have our promotions that our price codes that we want to copy selected, we can then head into step 3. Inside step 3, we're going to choose the options that we want to copy. So we can choose to copy the description. We can choose to copy the price. That's going to be our prices that we've calculated. Our able to use flag, which means if we had promotions that we had, or sorry, price codes that we had disabled, they would not be active, and that would copy over the disabled options for those price points. Enable disable promotions from our promotions tab, which we haven't gotten to yet, so I'm going to leave that deselected, and our default promotion. We'll learn more about that when we get to the promotions window as well. We're going to press on the copy button, and when we do, that's going to copy these price codes into all the additional performances that we had selected. Now, sometimes we have different price points for different days of the week. We might choose to copy the description and the able to use price flags for some of our performances, while not copying over the price points because we know that we need to alter them or change them. That would leave all of our price points at $0, allowing us to come in and individually double click on them and change them to the value that we needed for different days of the week. For those of us that have larger production runs, you may decide that you're going to just highlight select performances on the left-hand side to copy. For example, maybe our Sunday matinees have a different pricing structure, and we can copy prices for those only and have a unique structure from an event perhaps that's in the past or an event that we've already set up that's not a part of this particular event series. Once we've copied our price points, we do want to do some checks just to make sure that everything looks correct and that everything copied over. And as we can see, all of these performances have our price points and everything is looking accurate here. If we needed to make any alterations or changes, we have the ability to double click and alter these at any time. Now that we have our pricing structure set up, let's head to promotions. Inside promotions, we can choose to disable the promotions we're not going to use. Now, for most of you, you probably have a very long list of promotions. My database has a much shorter list because I haven't created that many in it at the moment. But a quick way to highlight all of our promotions or for altering our promotions is to do a Control A or a Command A on the keyboard after single clicking on one of the promotions on the right-hand side, and it will highlight all of your promotions. If you have more promotions to disable than enable, I highly recommend doing this, then holding the Command or the Control key on your keyboard and deselecting the options that you want to keep. This will make it even easier to pare down the list when we only need a handful of promotions as opposed to all of the options that are currently in our list. We're going to deselect the promotions that we want to keep. They're now listed in white, and the ones that we want to turn off are listed in green. Down at the bottom of the window, we're going to click on Disable Use, and that's going to turn those promotions off. So now if I come back and I click on our performance on the left-hand side, it will update the list and show us only those promotions that we're currently using. If we have a promotion that we missed and we need to add it after we've deselected options, we can come down to our selected only drop down here in the lower right-hand corner and go back to all, which will list all of our promotions. We can find that promotion that we missed. Perhaps we need a board member comp, and we can single click on it and check the box at the bottom to allow use. That's now active and available for this performance. And if we switch back to selected only, it will appear inside our list. Often we have the same promotion structure for multiple performances. And if that's the case, you can highlight all the performances on the left-hand side. Our preview is going to be a little bit different than the rest of our performances, just because we have different seating requirements or different pricing structures required for our preview. And then we can come over to our promotions on the right-hand side and choose the promotions that we want to deselect. So for this one, perhaps I'm going to get rid of 2-for-1 brunch. I'm holding down the Command or the Control key on the keyboard, depending on if you're a Mac or a Windows user. And I'm going to select the options that I don't want. I'll take out Comp Other. Maybe there won't be a comp corporate discount or an entertainment, and perhaps we're only going to allow smaller groups. We can deselect all of the promotions that aren't going to apply. We can then click on the Disable button down at the bottom, and that's going to turn all of those promotions off so that they're no longer active. And if we single click on any one of these, we'll see that the list has now become much shorter. Our final step here, I'm going to highlight all of our performances, is going to be to set our default sales promotion. Now, I've selected all of our performances, and by doing so, you'll see that some of these performances, or some of these promotions, sorry, have yellow dots next to them. That's because these promotions are enabled for some performances, but not all. Since we have a shorter list of promotions for our preview, these are ones that are enabled for everything but the preview. To set our default sales promotion, I'm going to single click on Regular. This will be the promotion that we're going to be using the most at the box office, and I'm going to say Set Default. By doing this, when we go to buy tickets at the box office, this promotion will already be highlighted or selected, which can sometimes save us a step when we're selling tickets to our patrons, because we don't need to select the promotion first. It will already be active and enabled for us. Now that we have our promotions ready, we're going to head into the Maps tab, and we can see the individual map for each of our performances. If there are seats that we want to hold within the performances, we can go ahead and select those seats by drawing a box around them, click on the Hold button, and choose to hold them with a letter of our desire. Different seats within the house could have different types of holds, and depending on the performance, we might have different holds as well. So right now we're looking at our preview performance, and we might have a variety of different seats in here that we're going to hold for media if they're going to come in to do a review. For the rest of our performances, again, we can go through and highlight multiple performances at a time, select a collection of seats, and hold them. So perhaps these here are going to be our house seats. We're going to click on the Hold button, and we're going to lock those down. Those will be for our latecomers. If they show up and need a place to sit, we'll put them here. We can add any additional holds that we need at the map level. And these holds will be in each of our performances. They'll also appear in our online sales, and they're different from they're different from holds that might be held in the map itself. A map hold is designed for any hold where it's consistent throughout the venue for every single performance, whereas our performance holds are individual to the performance. So if we have a select performance where we need to hold a couple of seats, or maybe we have a different hold structure for a different type of event, maybe we hold different seats for something that is a theatrical production versus a comedy versus a concert or a piano recital, then we have the ability to come in and set those individually. We wouldn't want to put those on the map level if they're unique to the different performance types. Another example might be a theater production versus a musical. Perhaps we have different holds or different seating locations that we're going to hold seats. Or maybe we have something like a sound booth that comes into the house for a musical that isn't there for other types of events. So we would hold that on a per performance basis as opposed to on every single map or on the map. So it's held for every single performance. All right. From this window, we also have the ability to print maps. So you can click on Save to File here on the right-hand side and choose to save this image, or you can choose to print it up at the top of the window using the print button, which will generate a report of the map and allow you to print or PDF that report. This can be great if you need to send a visual indicator of seats sold to a promoter or to the front of house manager. It can often be a great point of reference. Our next tab is our attendance tab. Our attendance tab is going to populate as we sell tickets. Since we've just built this particular event, there are no tickets sold at the moment, so we won't see anyone listed here, but as we buy tickets, these tables start to populate. Our personnel tab is designed for volunteer management or assigning staff and personnel to the particular performance. If you're using the facility management module, it's more common to have staff listed here. With the volunteer module, we can allocate them to different dates and keep track of their volunteer history and how many hours they've contributed with us, as well as which events that they've participated in. Our revenue, our sales, and our GL tab are all going to populate with ticket sales as well. They're great for reporting and reviewing sales statistics. Let's head back over to that marketing tab we talked about earlier. A couple of key things inside the marketing tab. We do have an external sales notes field. These notes will appear inside the online sales. So as a patron purchases tickets or clicks on the buy button, the write-up that we see here will appear on the left-hand side of the window, as well as when they move into their seat selection window. So these are great places to indicate the details of this particular event. It might be a write-up or a description about the event or links to other areas to see more marketing details for the event. These pieces of information also appear when we click on the event itself, the event title. And so it can be used as a part of our marketing site to redirect somebody to that event page, review the details that talk about the marketing information that we've controlled through Theater Manager, and all of that gets populated automatically as we put content into this particular field. We also have internal sales notes where we can write some details that are important for staff to know about. For example, if there is course language, we might put a little bit more detail in here as to what the content might be for those parents who might be contacting us to ask for more information, or if there's other special notes that we need to know about that need to be passed on to the patron. For example, if there was no intermission, or if there are shorter intermissions, longer intermissions, if there are strobe lights or other things that we might need to make patrons aware of that the box office will provide more details on. On the right-hand side, we also have our ticket trove image. This icon is a 200 wide by 250 tall pixel image. And so this particular image will be what shows up when we're buying events online. It appears to the left of the event title. And so it's important to add a particular image here for each of our unique events because it really adds a lot of pop to our ticketing sites so we can see more information and visually have a representation as opposed to just seeing the title of the particular performance. If we don't have an icon here or an image here, Theater Manager will use the image from your company preferences. And so it will pull your logo into place of the particular ticket trove image. All right. So we have the majority of the details set up for our particular event. We're going to head back to the performance tab and talk a little bit more about that before we move on to our questions and answers. A couple of details here. One, we can allow our performances to be available for sale directly through the performance tab. So we could highlight all of our performances and check the box at the top of the window, sell via the internet, which will now make them available inside our online sales. There are some other options available surrounding ticket sales that we'll explore in just a moment. We also have a patron to view on internet if not for sale. This allows us to set up a performance and have it not available online for purchase just yet, but still be visible, which can give our patrons an indicator that an event is coming up. For example, if we've announced an event, but it's not available for sale yet. I'm going to double click on one of our performances. We'll use our preview. And we're going to go into the sales management tab to explore those options a little bit further. So if we are selling via the internet, we also have the ability to enter a date and time that a particular performance is going to be available for sale. So for example, maybe we're going to make this performance available for sale tomorrow, and it will go on sale at 10 a.m. By doing this, Theater Manager will automatically make the sales available or the buy button active for us at 10 a.m. tomorrow for our ticket sales. So we don't have to manually come in and make that change ourselves. And by saying that patrons can view it on the internet, they'll be able to see that the performance is available for sale, and they'll be able to see the date and time that purchase will be available. We'll see that in just a moment. If we were to uncheck this box, it means that the performance will not be visible inside our list until after 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So once we hit, after 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, once we hit 10 a.m., Theater Manager will populate that into the page. So we can choose to hide the details completely if we don't want patrons to see them and only have them pop up when we're ready. And I'm going to bring up a copy of our ticketing site here, just so we can see what this looks like as an example. I'm going to pull this over onto our window. And so here's our Phantom of the Opera. This is our preview performance. So on sales commence on Friday, August 20th at 10 a.m. Again, if we chose to hide this performance until 10 a.m., it wouldn't appear until that time. And then all of our other performances are listed here, available for sale. We can also see that the default image is the Theater Manager or the Arts Management Systems logo, and this is because we haven't put an image inside our ticket trove. But as we do, you can see, for example, the Phoenix Coyotes. These images pop up, making it unique for each of our performances. All right. There are a variety of other settings related to our individual performances. We've written a lot of details surrounding web settings recently for performances that are live streaming events. There are also details available for allowing patrons to watch live streaming performances for set periods of time, or allowing patrons to purchase tickets after a performance has already started. These details are all inside our web settings tab and are unique to the type of performance that you're offering. We're going to just take a quick look at one other setting here inside the window. We have a performance notes tab. The performance notes tab is different than the marketing notes that we saw, the internal, external fields that we saw inside the marketing tab. This allows us to put details in that will appear right on the purchase page. So for example, if I add a note here that says that this is going to be by donation, we can click on save. And when I pull up our upcoming events and we reload our page, Theater Manager adds these types of notes directly to our purchase page. So if we have details we want to ensure our patrons read before they buy, the performance notes is a great place to add these pieces of information. Some organizations will have events that have age restrictions associated with them, or it could be that you're doing an event where there's a fundraiser or a donation element. There could be events that have strobe lights or coarse language or other elements that you want to ensure the audience is aware of before they buy their ticket. By adding these details, when the patron's in the purchase window, they'll be able to see them. And these notes will continue with us as we move in to buy our tickets. So inside our seat selection and our pricing, our promotion choices. So it's important to add these types of notes sparingly. If we add too many, it can be overwhelming, and it might mean that our patrons don't see them because it just becomes part of the rest of the content. But it's a great way to get across key elements that we want our patrons to be aware of. All right. And so that's our event. It's set up, ready to go, live, on sale, everything other than the preview.